Folks, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. I'll explain. Number one, it's absolutely free. Means you don't pay a dime out of pocket. Number two, you can use creation tools to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, like I'm doing with my phone. Number three, if you want to hear it on multiple platforms, Anchor can do that for you. So you can hear it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, among others. And the thing is, you can make money without anybody listening. As little as that. And everything you need to do is to make a podcast is all here. To get started, please download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You'll be glad you did. In part 6 of the 2020 Canes opponent preview series, we're going to preview the Virginia Cavaliers, our opponent at Hard Rock Stadium on October 24th. Here's what you need to know about the Virginia Cavaliers. They won the Coastal last year. They played in the Orange Bowl, but a lot of changes this year. Bryce Perkins, Joe Reed, and Hasisi Dubois, key players on the offense, gone. Jordan Mack and Bryce Hall gone to graduation. And due to their pandemic, they'll only play a conference-only 10-game slate. And they have to, and besides us, they got to go to Clemson, FSU, and VTech. Let's look at the offense. Now, before COVID, losing Perkins was tough enough. However, with the pandemic axing spring practice, Brennan Armstrong, their sophomore quarterback, and their junior quarterback, Keaton Thompson, only had an abbreviated summer to get familiar with the offense. Now, while Armstrong has had the edge over Thompson during fall camp because of his familiarity with the team, Thompson, on talent, beats out Armstrong. He was the 5th-ranked dual-threat quarterback out of high school and showed flashes of excellence while at Mississippi State. If Armstrong struggles early, look for Thompson to come in early in the season. At the skill position, yes, they get back to a Papa, but they lose Reed and Hasisi Dubois, as I mentioned earlier. And they get a graduate transfer from Towson and Shane Simpson, who was an FCS All-America before being injured last year. Tuolapapa had 12 touchdowns last year, but he often struggled to get involved in that option and create big plays on the ground or off screens. This is where Simpson comes in. He'll fit nicely there. And it provides Virginia's running game with a new dimension due to the speed and his ability to catch the ball. They get a junior Indiana transfer, Ronnie Walker, in, but now we'll find out if his waiver appeals approved by the NCAA. Out wide, and this is what they lose with Reed. Exceptional speed on screen and slants, and Dubois, who had one of the surest hands in college football. He didn't drop a pass last year. Well, now they're going to need Terrell Jana and Rashawn Henry to step up and fill those big shoes. And Jana was the third option behind Reed and Dubois. He had 73 catches for 878 yards last year. He's a name for Vancouver and has shown strong ability to find seams in the defense. And he should make Thompson and Armstrong's job much simpler. While Henry is coming over from FCS St. Francis, where he was the first team all Northeast Conference last season. And like Dubois, he can tower over defenders and absorb big hits, but more importantly, holding on to the ball. Yet, despite Henry's addition, they're still thin at wide receiver due to loss of Tavion Wicks to a season-ending injury. However, for Jana and a supporting cast, that's going to include wide receiver Tavares Kelly Jr. and freshman wide receiver Lavelle Davis Jr. to fill those shoes left behind by Reed and Dubois. Virginia will have to be creative in their passing game. At tight end, they lose Cowley. but they get sophomore Grant Mish back, who played in all 14 games last season. The presumptive starter, though, is graduate transfer from Central Michigan, Tony Poljan, who we saw last year at Hard Rock in a tough game again when they came to Hard Rock. He hit in 37 games over the last 3 years, and he has a quarterback's intuition at tight end. He played quarterback in his first 2 years up in Central Michigan. But on the offensive line, this is where their strength is. All 5 starters are back, and that includes All-ACC junior center Olusegun Oluwatimi. The Cavaliers had trouble protecting Perkins last year, but having more chemistry on that line should pay big dividends this year. Now on defense, they lose 3 starters from last year, namely seniors on the inside linebacker Jordan Mack and right end Eli Hanbeck, as well as junior safety Chris Moore, who transferred to Georgia State as a grad transfer. But the biggest loss, of course, is Hall, who was their All-American corner when he got injured at Hard Rock last year on that Friday night. But in the front 7, with the loss of Mack and Hanbeck, that's a big one. But they're replaced by 2 players who have experience in senior inside linebacker Rob Snyder and senior right end Mandy Alonso. Following a season in 2018 that saw him start 7 games for the bowl-eligible Cavaliers, Snyder suffered a season-ending injury a quarter into last season. If he could stay healthy, that hard-nosed mentality should pay big dividends for a solid run defense that was 40th in the nation allowed in rushing yards allowed per game. Alonso as well brings a bevy of experience, having played 34 games for Virginia, and he showed up at big moments throughout the 2019 season, including that Commonwealth Cup clinching game against VTech and a forced fumble. You round out that front 7 with an experienced cohort of players that have 75 defensive starts. They get back outside linebackers Noah Taylor Jr. and senior Charles Snowden, who made lines on the offense miserable with their length and speed. And they could find them, and they could be receiving first team All-ACC honors by the end of the year. In addition to that, they get senior linebacker Zane Sandier back, who led the Cavs with 108 tackles. And time again, he could plug the gap and stop elite running backs. Now, senior left end Richard Burney has had a career plagued by injuries. But after being awarded the first jersey number of the selection of the season, he's poised to have a breakout year. And finally, at nose tackle, they get sophomore Jawan Briggs back, who was the highest ranked recruit in Broncos' tenure there. And he could be an anchor on that defense and be in the All-American conversation by his senior year. That's how high they think of this kid. But at the secondary, of course, besides losing Hall and Bratton, they lost Brenton Nelson. However, Nelson and Bratton are back, and they get experienced trio seniors on the back end, and cornerback Nick Grant, safeties Devontae Cross and Joey Blunt. With the 3 injuries last year, health is a big issue for them. If they stay healthy, that experience and discipline could get Virginia back in the ACC title game. Now, besides our game on October 24th, look who they have. They go to Virginia Tech early, but now it has bigger meaning, knowing that this game will not be at the end of the year as it's been in the past, but early this year, at Virginia Tech September 19th. They go to Carolina on October 31st, a week after they come to Hard Rock. Correction. They host North Carolina October 31st. And they host Louisville the following week. Now, let's put it this way. That schedule is brutal. They got to go to Clemson, and that's a big deal. And they have new faces on the offensive side of that ball, as well as having Armstrong there. It's easy to say they won't repeat what they did last year, but on the other side, their defense is very well experienced, and that could be a problem for opponents this year. It's no divisions this year, so that path is going to get a lot tougher. I'm gonna look at that schedule, and they say 7-3. I'm gonna say the same deal. 7-3, losses to Clemson and us, and losing at home then to North Carolina. In part 7 of the 2020 Canes opponent preview series, we will preview the North Carolina State Wolfpack.